Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hello and welcome to this episode of our program. This is Mike Saunders with Marketing Huddle. Today we have with us Joe Kashurba, who is the CEO and founder of Kashurba Web Design Group, LLC. Welcome to the program, Joe.
Hey, how's it going, Mike?
Hey, doing awesome. And obviously this is a web design company because that is in your title. But give us a little bit of your background and what led you to the web design business.
Yeah, basically I started a freelance web design business in high school, and it sort of started because a group of my friends had a band, and I filmed them playing in the band and sold tapes of them playing to their parents, and that was sort of the first business endeavor I had, and that sort of morphed into a video production business where I was doing wanting to do other video production projects. And for the video production business, I built a website, and what quickly happened was that everybody wanted me to build websites for them, and nobody was interested in the video production services. So that's sort of how it morphed into a web design business, and then it was something I did all through high school and college, and then towards the end of graduation from college, I was involved in a startup company that sort of fell apart during graduation week. So I graduated with no job lined up and no startup that I was involved in, so the only thing I had was the web design business. So I had to make it work at that point.
Yeah, kind of a sink or swim at that point, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, let's talk about that for just half a second. Put yourself back in that situation, and let's assume that it wasn't sink or swim, but it was more like, give it a good go, and you've got a little cushion here because mom and dad will back you, or you've got this job waiting. How do you think things would have been different if that were the case?
Well, luckily I was able to, move back in with my parents, and I set up a sort of makeshift desk in my mom's basement and everything like that. So luckily I wasn't on the street, but but it really was, that was the only thing I had, and I was seeing all my other friends, who I graduated with get jobs at Amazon and Oracle and places like that. So it felt pretty sink or swim to me at that point.
That's about as sink or swim as you can get, because in your social circles and sphere of influence, we all want that kind of need for recognition and achievement, and sitting in a room with your laptop trying to make a go of it, that's a motivator right there when you see your other colleagues and friends, with that next step. So bring us then fast forward to what does your business look like today, and how far have you come?
Well, yeah. So now I've built a business into a web design and digital marketing agency. We're about half websites and half digital marketing, like helping companies with advertising on Facebook and Google. And I've built a virtual team. We have project managers, we have developers, graphic designers. Everybody's virtual and works from home. And we've really been able to grow to the point where we have clients all over the country and even some clients internationally. And I always like to say that I went from selling $300 websites to selling $30,000 websites, because when I started out, it was just a couple $100 websites for, people locally, and now we've done massive projects that are $30,000 or $40,000 for some of the biggest manufacturing and construction companies.
Yeah, so can you remember a specific jump in price? Meaning, you didn't go obviously from 300 to 30,000, but do you remember where there was a point where you submitted that next proposal for a website, and you had been doing $400, $500, $600 websites, and this one here was going to be $3,000 or $4,000? Do you remember that time, and how did you feel, and how did you overcome that trepidation of, man, this is a lot for us, and I hope that they take it?
Well, I think it was a multiple step kind of process, and not all of our sites are in that range. We do a lot of sites in the 5, 10, 15,000 range. But one of the big times that when there was a jump was right towards the end of college, when I was really busy with finals and everything. Somebody came to me looking for a website, and at that point I usually charged about $700 for a site. And I just really didn't have time to do it. This is when I was still doing just by myself. And so I made up the price $1,800 when I was usually charging $700. And they ended up paying it, and I was shocked.
Yeah.
And so I feel like some and we've had more steps from there, but I feel like some of it has just been having to test the price and sort of test the waters and realizing that in some ways the increasing of the price was a mindset issue and feeling comfortable doing it more than it was a real issue.
Yeah, I think that's a masterclass study in that one statement there on, the psychology of selling and marketing. And I think that the big reason that worked for you was you didn't care, in the sense, not that you didn't care about the project, but you had something else on the forefront of your mind, which was finals, and you're going, look, I don't want to just say no, so I'm going to give them a number, and you picked a number that was well beyond, more than double, 2.5 times about what you normally were charging, and it paid off. And I think that if more people. Now, there's also the limit, because you couldn't have said 18,000 and they jumped at it. It had to have been something reasonable. But I think the lesson there is there's so many people that just get so concerned about a price point, and it's, they haven't built their business to the point where they have enough proposals and bids out that if they get this one, it's fine. If they don't, this is fine too. And so then that kind of locks them into that pricing, because they're like, I need this to make budget for payroll, or I need this for whatever. And if we can just take that mindset and, deliver a good product, know our stuff so that we're an expert in what we're doing, that will allow us to increase our prices in an ethical way. Again, we're not going to try to, overcharge what the market will bear. But I think that's a really, really interesting observation that you discovered early on.
Yeah, and that's, one of the other things that I'm doing now is I'm working with some other web designers and agency owners to help them grow their businesses. And one of the things that I always tell people is that one of the key things that they need is more deal flow. They need more proposals, more potential clients contacting them, because that's the only way that they're going to feel comfortable raising their prices and really charging what they're worth.
Yeah.
When they have that deal flow.
And I would even say a precursor to that is lead flow, and that's obvious, but it's kind of like, well, I see what you're saying about, I'm getting ready to put together 10 bids or 10 proposals, so that's a good deal flow, and if, only X of them close, then that's great, so I'm going to raise my prices knowing that certainly some of them are going to stick. But what if someone has 1 or 2 proposals? Well, that's not a good deal flow, but if they've got a marketing engine and a prospecting and networking engine in place where they're getting downloads of their industry reporter white paper, or they're having attendees on their webinars, or they see a nice consistent flow of free consultation phone calls scheduled each and every week, that will give them the confidence that the next step will follow with that deal flow. So I think those are really interesting and good, powerful things to keep in mind as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So why did you make the decision to go with freelancers rather than building a traditional agency business where you have, the typical employees?
I think there was sort of two reasons. One, I just tend to be a very introverted person. I like working from home, and I like, I like to travel a lot. I travel internationally a couple times a year, and I've always wanted to build a business that was that way, that I sort of had that freedom and everything like that. And the other piece was when I started meeting other successful owners of successful web design businesses, many of which had employees and offices and everything. One of the things that I realized was that when you go down that path, there's a risk of really losing a lot of your profit margin, and ending up in a situation where your company's grossing a lot of money, but you're not making any more profit than you did as a freelancer. Mm. And so I made a conscious decision. There was a point in time where I sort of really easily could have gone in that direction and set up an office and all of that. And I made the decision to avoid that, because I didn't want to end up having a big business but not having any more profit margin than I already did.
Mm. I think that there's another kind of aha realization for a lot of companies where, you look back over the last 12 months and you go, wow, these types of projects or types of customers are way more profitable than these other types, and then the 80-20 rule kicks in, and it's like, I'm going to kind of not take on these kinds, and I'm going to take on these kinds. Well, you had that same conscious realization, and you wanted flexibility, and then when the dust settles, all of a sudden you realize, wow, someone with the bustling office, that might be all fine and dandy, but if their margins are X, that's about what mine is, and I've got the freedom and flexibility. So I think that's a big aha moment, a big realization. What would you recommend for someone looking to scale up or offload some of their tasks, with the virtual and the outsourcers and things like that? What are some pitfalls to avoid when bringing on your first and second and third, virtual team member?
Well, I think the first thing which you almost touched on a little bit is figuring out. You mentioned figuring out what services maybe are the highest profit margin or something like that. And one of the mistakes that I see when people go out and they try to get other team members involved in things is that they haven't. A lot of, especially people in web design or in sort of freelance creative kind of people, they tend to do everything for everybody. They'll do any service that somebody needs. They'll use any software that somebody needs. They do everything for everybody. And when you do that, it's really, really difficult to get somebody else to come in because every project is different and every client needs something different. And I talk to a lot of web designers that say, man, I can't get any good contractors, and the contractor's always asking me for help and all this stuff. And really the problem is they're expecting the contractor to do anything under the sun, and they need to, before they get other people involved, they need to get clear about these are the core services that we offer, these are the things that we do, these are the things that we don't do, and then you can bring somebody on because the projects are the same every time. You're doing the same kinds of things every time. It's like, McDonald's can hire people right out of high school or right in high school to go and make all the food, and it's always the same all the time. But you couldn't just grab a high school student and have them be your personal chef and have them make anything you could possibly want for you.
Have you ever read that book, Built to Sell?
Yes, I read that about 6 months ago. I recommend it to everybody. It's an awesome.
Yeah, I love that book, and mainly just the concept, because obviously the title is Built to Sell, meaning you're going to work on building your company so you can sell it. But maybe there's someone listening that is not looking to sell the company. Read the book. It literally took me like 2.5 days. It's a really quick, easy read. It's written in story format, so it's really fun that way. But if you can get your business down to that core focus, and then and whatever it is, and it doesn't have to be any certain industry, it can be anything, and you find yourself wanting to please too many people all the time, and all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, if this person asked for this and it's a one-off, we don't know that we're going to get dozens and dozens of new projects like this thing, and we've got to hire this and scale that and learn that, and maybe it's not even in our wheelhouse, and we deliver an okay project. Well, like Seth Godin says, we need to be remarkable in our business, which means we have to do something being worthy of being remarked about. If you just deliver an okay, you're not going to have a raving fan. You're going to have a satisfied client. Well, there's nothing wonderful or remarkable about a satisfied client or even a happy client. You want a raving fan, and how do you do that? You pick that thing you do that you really get passionate about, and you really can do it really, really well, and then you break it down into the steps, and then you hire the people to own each and every step. And I think that just sounds so easy to say, and it's really hard to do. So what do you find when you yourself faced that? Did you still have that temptation of, this project came across our desk, and it might be a big, healthy size project, but we're going to pass on it because we need to stay true to ourselves?
Absolutely, that's all exactly right, and it's true that it's a difficult thing. It's especially difficult for someone who is a freelancer or is the kind of person who could do anything for anybody. And I think that the first piece is that it's just like we were talking before about deal flow and lead flow in terms of raising your prices. You have to realize that this comes down to the deal flow and the lead flow also. if you have plenty of people contacting you and plenty of opportunities, then you're more comfortable turning down the ones that aren't a good fit. So I think everybody has to identify that they just need to have a big flow of leads and deals, and therefore they need to be doing some sort of marketing or prospecting or something on a continuous basis to generate that lead flow and that deal flow. And so I think that's one piece of it. You have to have that engine running. That's one piece. And then the other piece, the other sort of tactical suggestion I always give people is, figure out what your core offerings are, and, don't fire all of the clients that want something else right away. Start by creating a marketing campaign around that core offering. And, those people that come from that marketing campaign, you only offer that one thing to, or you only offer it at that set price. But everybody else you leave intact, and then you sort of slowly let that fade away as that marketing works.
I think that right there is the realization that should be an aha moment for anyone thinking about that, because you hear so many times, you get rich in the niche and, pick that vertical, but then you look at your business and you go, but I picked up this client from whatever industry, and then someone referred me their cousin who owns another company in this whole separate industry. How am I going to say no to that? So what you just said is the solution, which is you look at your business and you see what client was just super easy to work with, good margin, fair project, really nice for the company, and it was just good working with that company, that type of company in that industry, and you would love to get more like that. And if that's a dentist or a construction firm, it doesn't matter, but then you do marketing campaigns to get more of them, and maybe you use that initial client as a case study, you get more clients like them, and then when someone refers you someone, you'll look at taking that, but you don't focus on that. You let that taper off, because now you're cranking up your marketing engine, getting more of that one vertical. And what happens then is you find that it's easier to sell to that vertical because you're the expert in it. You are the whatever, brand designer, web designer for X vertical, and it's easier to say yes because when you're showing some of your work, they're seeing all of people like them across the country have chosen you. So I think that then becomes the easy way to, and you might still have that trailing onesie, twosie project that comes in that's outside of the vertical, but that's not your focus.
Exactly, and I think so many people, they get hung up on thinking that they have to sort of pivot everything in their business before they target some specialization or some niche. Like, if you want to go after just restaurants, people think, okay, I need to change the name of my company,
right?
Or I need to change my logo and redesign my whole website and everything like that. The name of our company is still Kashurba Web Design Group, even though there are certain industries that make up the vast majority of our work. We have a ton of industrial and manufacturing work. But I've just left the name of the company, Kashurba Web Design, and avoided the temptation to change the name to match some specialization or something like that.
Because you can always test the waters, do a little marketing campaign, see if it's got some legs, and then if it does, you could hire a business development manager, salesperson, kind of to head up the quote-unquote new division of your company. And again, you're not changing names, brands, logos. You're just saying, oh, I'm the director of business development for the restaurant division of our firm. Oh, okay, good. And then now that person is the one that's got all the case studies and examples and testimonies from that vertical. Well, what if, lo and behold, one day another vertical crops up 2 years down the road, and you start the whatever, and you just bring someone else in that focuses on that for your company, so that they know the lingo, they know everything, and now all of a sudden you're the on the top, at the umbrella of the parent brand. With all of these now vertical focuses, and it just makes sense. So I think the kind of the example I would leave with this talk is, it's like the sun. You can walk out and put a little sunscreen on and not get burned, but if you have this huge magnifying glass, you can focus that sun's energy on a leaf and burn it up because it's super focused. And I think that's where we need to be in our businesses.
Yes, absolutely.
Hey, so kind of wrap up and give us some, final thoughts, and then what's the best way that people can connect with you to learn more about your firm? Yeah,
let's see. I think to wrap that conversation up, I would just say, I think one of the mistakes that a lot of people make in all things in business is they get too caught up in worrying about everything being perfect, and not testing things. You need to create those marketing campaigns. You need to test. You need to test the industries and niches and everything like that, rather than just spending 6 months redesigning the logo or spend 6 months planning everything out to make it perfect. And so that's sort of the last thing I want to say on that. And then basically, if anybody's interested in looking for actual done-for-you web design services or digital marketing services, they can go to KashurbaWebDesign.com. And if somebody's a freelancer or a web design agency owner and you're looking to develop and scale your business and you'd be interested in working one-on-one or working through some group coaching kind of arrangements, you can go to agencyaccelerator.guru and get in touch with me that way.
Awesome. Joe, thank you so much for your time. It was wonderful getting to know you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.